For 4 months Jeanne struggled against death. In the poor peasant room where she had been laid, she fought day and night against a fever of the brain that seemed destined either to kill her or leave her mad. At the end of the 4th month she was out of danger, and the fever left her for good. Yet whenever she was alone, she would sometimes murmur vague words filled with infinite tenderness, addressed to whom? She alone knew. 2 more months passed in this way. One autumn morning, while the open window let in the October sun, gentle as summer's farewell, Jeanne felt stronger and wished to rise. She had scarcely taken 2 steps when she suddenly pressed both hands to her sides and gave a cry of distress. The first pain of childbirth had struck her. The old nurse put her back to bed. When Jeanne came to herself, when she could raise her heavy eyelids and look around, a long shiver of joy and love ran through her whole being. There, close beside her on the same pillow, lay the child she had so long awaited and adored before ever seeing her. Its tiny fists were tightly closed, its eyelids shut, its little face white as milk and faintly rosy, its lips parted by a soft whimper.
"It is a girl,"
whispered the old nurse.
"Loïse,"
Jeanne breathed, almost too softly to be heard. She turned her face toward the child, hardly daring to touch her, scarcely daring even to move.
"My poor darling, my innocent little one, you will have no father."
Loïse grew in strength and beauty, and as her features began to form it soon became clear that the little girl would one day be a marvel of grace and harmony. Every glance Jeanne gave her was an ecstasy, every word she spoke an act of devotion. She did not merely love her child, she worshipped her. Only in the evening, when Loïse had fallen asleep upon her breast, could Jeanne draw not her heart, but at least her thoughts, away from her daughter, and let them return to the man she loved, to her husband, to the father of the child. François, her beloved François, the man to whom she had given herself without reserve and entirely. Could it really be true that he had gone away so shamefully, under the pretext of war? Could it truly be that he had abandoned her and would never return? Perhaps he was dead. There had been no news, nothing. Sometimes the child sleeping against her would suddenly wake beneath the warm rain of tears falling upon her forehead. Winter passed. Jeanne seldom left the cottage and never went beyond the garden. She had kept a deep and secret terror of her last encounter with Henri de Montmorency, and the mere thought of finding herself face to face with him again made her tremble. Then spring returned, unusually early. By March, Loïse was nearing her 6th month. The first buds began to open, and the whole world became radiant once more, except within the heart of the poor abandoned woman. One day toward the end of March, the old nurse and her husband went into the forest to cut wood. Jeanne remained in her room, gazing with indescribable tenderness at Loïse, who was asleep upon the bed. The room looked out over the garden through a window that stood partly open. Suddenly footsteps were heard in the front room, the one opening onto the road, and a voice began to beg for charity. Jeanne went out and saw a mendicant monk holding out his sack. She cut a piece from a loaf and handed it to him.
"Go in peace, good brother."
The monk thanked her in a nasal voice, showered her with blessings, and at last withdrew. Jeanne returned to her room. Her first glance went to the bed where Loïse had been sleeping. Then there burst from her a terrible cry, a cry beyond ordinary human expression, the cry of a she-wolf robbed of her young, the cry of a mother. Loïse had disappeared. Jeanne searched for her child with the fury and desperate rage of a creature searching for its own life. For 4 hours she beat through hedges and thickets, wild-eyed, disheveled, crying out, tearing her clothes and skin until she bled. Then suddenly the thought came to her that perhaps the child was back at the house. She ran there and arrived breathless. In the middle of the main room stood a man, pale and ominously still. "Henri de Montmorency,"
"You,"
she cried.
"you, who appear only at the darkest moments of my life.
With one movement he was upon her. He seized both her wrists and spoke in a low, harsh, hurried voice.
You are looking for your daughter, are you not? Yes, you are looking for her. Then know this. Your daughter is in my hands. I took her, and I have her still. God help her if you refuse to listen to me.
You!
Jeanne screamed.
You treacherous wretch!
Be silent,
He growled, bruising her wrists in his grip.
Listen to me, and listen well if you want to see her again.
The mother heard only those words. To see her again. Her fury melted away, and she began to plead.
To see her again? What did you say? To see her again? Say it once more, I beg you. I will kneel before you. I will kiss the ground beneath your feet. My daughter, give me back my child.
Listen to me. At this very moment your daughter is in the hands of one of my men. A man? A tiger, if I wish it. A slave who will obey me. We have agreed upon this. Do not move, and listen carefully. If I walk to that window and raise my cap into the air, the man will draw his dagger and plunge it into the child's throat.
Jeanne fell to her knees and struck her forehead against the hard-packed floor. She tried to cry for mercy, but no sound came.
Get up,
Henri ordered. She obeyed at once, her hands still stretched toward him in a terrible gesture of supplication.
Are you ready to obey me?
She nodded, frantic and breathless, terrible and sublime in her fear.
Then listen. François, my brother, is coming back. Do you understand? He will stand here before you, and I shall speak to him. If you do not call me a liar, if you remain silent, your daughter will be back in your arms tonight. But if you speak one word, I raise my cap, and your daughter dies. Look now, François is coming.
Along the road from Montmorency, a cloud of dust came racing forward as though driven by a gust of wind, and from within it rose a frantic voice.
Jeanne! Jeanne! It is I! I am here!
François! François!
Jeanne screamed.
Help me!
Henri moved toward the window with terrible calm.
Then it will be you who has killed your daughter.
Mercy! Mercy! I will be silent. I will obey.
At that very instant, François de Montmorency flung open the door. Breathless with emotion, intoxicated with joy and love, he stopped unsteadily before her and held out his arms.
Jeanne, my beloved.
But slowly his arms fell. The happiness vanished from his face and was replaced by horror. He had returned. He had found the woman he loved, the wife he adored, and she stood before him motionless, frozen by terror, perhaps by remorse. François took 3 quick steps toward her.
Jeanne!
A sound of agony escaped the mother's throat. Every fiber of her being urged her to throw herself into the arms of the man she adored, but her frantic gaze turned toward Henri. He held his cap in one hand. His arm was beginning to rise.
No!
Jeanne stammered.
No! Jeanne!
François cried again. Then his eyes turned toward Henri.
My brother!
Neither the brother nor the wife answered. The silence was terrible. François slowly folded his arms across his chest. Grave and solemn as a judge, sad as a condemned man, he began to speak.
For a year not one beat of my heart failed to belong to the woman to whom I freely gave that heart forever, to the wife who bears my name. I return with my heart full of love and my mind feverish with happiness, and my wife turns her face away while my brother dares not look at me.
What Jeanne suffered in that moment passed beyond imagination. The torment was greater than any human mind could easily conceive. She loved him, she adored him. And while her heart drove her toward the arms of her husband and lover, her eyes remained fixed upon the infernal author of her torment, upon the hand that, by a single signal, could kill her daughter, her Loïse. That poor innocent angel, that radiant little creature of grace and beauty, was she to be murdered? Jeanne twisted her hands together. Blood appeared at the corner of her mouth, for in order to stifle the cry of her love she had bitten her own lips. Hardly had François finished speaking when Henri turned partly toward him, without leaving the open window, his threatening hand still ready to give the fatal signal. In a voice made all the more sinister by its calmness at such a moment, he said,
Brother, the truth is a sad one, but you shall hear it all. Speak,
growled François.
this woman is my wife. Then know that I, your brother, drove her away.
François staggered. Jeanne gave a strange, distant moan, almost beyond human expression.
Brother,
The woman who bears your name is unworthy of it. She betrayed you, and that is why I, your brother, acting in your place, drove her out as one drives out a common harlot. The moment that followed was dreadful. Henri stood ready for whatever might happen, his left hand clenched upon his dagger, his right gripping the cap that was to give the fatal signal. He watched both Jeanne and François, outwardly calm, while in his mind he prepared himself for a double murder if the truth came out. Under the lash of that vile accusation, Jeanne straightened. For one brief instant the lover in her was stronger than the mother. Her whole body surged forward as though struck by an electric shock, but at that same moment Henri's arm began to rise. She saw the movement. She advanced, recoiled, stammered something confused and unintelligible, and then bowed her head. François had also staggered. When at last he mastered himself, when he was certain he would not seize the adulteress in his powerful hands and strangle her, he advanced upon Jeanne until his tall figure seemed to tower over her. Something indistinct escaped his white lips, but its meaning was plain.
is it true?
Jeanne kept her eyes fixed upon Henri and remained silent. She hoped François would kill her. The torment had gone beyond her strength. Jeanne fell, not merely to her knees but to the floor itself, prostrate, lifting herself only with great effort upon one hand. Her head remained turned toward Henri, and her desperate gaze still watched for the murderous signal. Only then did she murmur, or believe she murmured, for no one heard the words.
Then finish me. Can you not see that I am dying so that our daughter may live?
After that she became almost motionless, and only the violent throbbing at her temples showed that life remained. François looked at her for a moment, as the first man of Scripture might have looked upon paradise after losing it. Then he turned toward the door, and went out without a cry or a groan, walking very slowly and slightly bent. Henri followed at a distance. He gave no thought to Jeanne. Whether she lived or died no longer mattered to him. If she lived, she belonged to him now. If she died, then at least he had torn from his own mind the torment of jealousy. And it was in that solemn and terrible moment that Henri understood the full depth of his hatred for his brother. He saw François crushed beneath his grief, yet he was still not satisfied. He wanted something more. He wanted François to suffer exactly what he himself had suffered, the same wound, the same agony. So he followed him with the patience of a hunter. François showed no surprise when he saw his brother behind him. He merely asked, as though continuing a conversation begun long before, "Tell me how these things happened."
What good would it do, brother? Why torment yourself with a wound that nothing can heal?
"You are mistaken, Henri," François answered in a low voice. "There is one thing that can heal me."
And what is that?
"The death of the man." Henri started and grew slightly pale, but almost at once a strange light appeared in his eyes.
You want him?
"I want him."
You swore to watch over her, Henri, but say nothing. I make no reproach, and I ask for no explanation from you. Yet you owe me a faithful account of what happened, and you owe me the name of the man. That much you owe me. I shall obey. Hardly had you departed, Monseigneur, when Mademoiselle de Pienne showed the man how little she regretted your absence.
"The man? Who? Give me his name."
Patience, Monseigneur. Perhaps even before your departure the man had already shared in your good fortune. Perhaps she wanted from you only the name, the fortune, and the power that came with being the eldest son. Yes, Monseigneur, now that I think of it, now that the hour has come to tell you the whole truth, I no longer merely suspect it, I affirm it.
Henri fixed his eyes upon his brother.
Before you, do you understand me, Monseigneur? The man had already possessed Jeanne de Piennes. You were only the second.
A growl rose from François's chest. "Go on."
I obey. After your departure, the relations between Jeanne de Piennes and the man continued. They were free then. Jeanne had a name and a title, while you, the husband, were far away. The lover was happy beyond anything I could describe. There were nights of delight, and the man stood very near to you, Monseigneur. On the day he learned of your return, he did what you yourself would have done. His passion had been satisfied, and he would not allow one of your houses to remain soiled any longer. He drove the adulteress away. He drove out the harlot.
François was seized by dizziness. The abyss seemed deeper and more terrible than he had imagined. The look he turned upon Henri was that of a madman. Then Henri, his mouth twisted, his face convulsed with hatred, finished in a voice that hissed between his teeth.
You want only the man's name now, Monseigneur, my brother. Then hear it. The lover of Jeanne de Piennes is called Henri de Montmorency.